What the hell's the deal with Boxing Day?
What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love. I'm in Toronto.
Welcome to episode 1825 of Toronto Mic'd, an award-winning podcast proudly brought to you by retrofestive.ca, Canada's pop culture and Christmas store. Save 10% with the promo code FOTM for a limited time. Great Lakes Brewery. Order online at greatlakesbeer.com for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Visit palmapasta.com for more. Fusion Corp's own Nick Iones. He's the host of Building Toronto Skyline and Building Success, two podcasts you ought to listen to. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Happy Boxing Day to all who celebrate. I hope everybody is enjoying a little break this festive season. The next new episode of Toronto Mic'd is on Monday, when I catch up with FOTM Ben Rayner. Then on New Year's Eve, I'm sharing my 90-minute chat with Matt Schichter. He's the director of the new CFNY documentary. I love CFNY, and I'm glad this is airing on TVO on January 6th. But man, something smells with the birth of this thing. In fact, I wrote about how Matt Schichter isn't invited to the premiere of this documentary at Chorus Key on January 5th, 2026. And I shared a little video on YouTube with Matt telling me this. And then I received this email from someone whose identity I shall not disclose. Quote, "Don't let those guys pressure you into taking the pod down. They are not good people, and the making of this doc was not a happy story. I'm not willing to talk as I have a lot of scars from the experience, and it ended my 20-plus year friendship with these are people I never want to see again. But if you want to dig, there's a lot of stuff that can be found on anything Matt said is 100% true." End quote. There was so much more as I probed for further details, but let me just say there is something rotten in the state of Brampton. But in happier news, and I'm trying not to repeat anything that will be shared during FOTM cast in very early January, I'm personally blown away by what transpired with me and this little podcast in 2025. I got on This Hour Has 22 Minutes. I did a couple of live hits on CNN. I was the Grand Marshal of the Etobicoke Lakeshore Santa Claus Parade. And then I won a Canadian Podcast Award for Outstanding News and Current Affairs Program. That happened, but all of my love is for you, the listener. And here's a big kiss. Earlier this month, FOTM Graven invited me to chat with him for his podcast, Graventown. I'm going to drop that chat here in its entirety. Graven has not only given me his blessing, but he's asked me to tell you that he has a new album coming out in early 2026. I can't wait to hear it. So here's Graven and me shooting the breeze. There's Graven.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good to see you again.
You too, man. Thanks so much for last minute recording this on Zoom. That's great.
I'm nothing if not nimble.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, get a bit closer. I wasn't prepared to be on camera today, but
Well,
that's
you
okay.
don't
I
have
like
to. You don't have to use this.
Yeah,
You
that's
guys
true.
turn off your camera, but I like to read your eyes. You got beautiful
Yeah,
eyes.
thanks, man. Well, you too. You have beautiful hair, so I like looking at your
Yeah, I
hair.
like people to look at my hair.
um, yeah, I was gonna say. So I'll do like a little preamble and just kind of butter you up, put some air in your tires for a second, and then I'll say like, uh, Toronto Mike, welcome to Graventown, and then you're in. Then we can go. Is that cool?
Yeah, I just have to remind myself this is your show, Graventown, not Toronto Mike, which means I
I know.
follow your lead.
Yeah, but you can hop in. I like that. I like that you're going to hop in and do your thing.
Well, if
Okay.
this was my show, we would have. This has already begun. Like I like this
Yeah,
stuff, so
I know you like it.
I'll
Yeah, it's
sit
just
back and listen and let you do your intro, and then I'm recording everything, so I'll send
okay,
you this file.
perfect. All right, here we go. Three, two, one. And we're back at it again, friends in Graventown. I appreciate you being here. I see the clicks, I see the upticks. It means a lot. And I think some of that is maybe because on episode 100 I had George Strombolopoulos. I'm not sure, but I think that's part of it. But at any rate, it means a lot to me that you sit and listen and wash dishes and do whatever you're doing while I'm just kind of yammering in the background. Thank you for making me a part of your life from my tiny corner of the world. And if you want to support me, it's $8 a month only. That's the only tier possible through Graventown. That's at ko-fi.com/Graven Canada. That's ko-fi.com/Graven Canada. It's a little tricky, but you'll find it. I send photos from the road and all kinds of things and thoughts and even songs that I'm working on. But that's neither here nor there, friends, because today we have a legendary guest in the podcast space. One would even say that beyond one of my podcasting heroes, Mark Maron, Toronto Mike has recorded more episodes than Mark Maron. How is that possible? Mark Maron retired. So Toronto Mike is surpassing him. But you want to talk about a fount of information and a fount of knowledge. And it's just a guy who is connected in so many ways to the arts, to the general community in Toronto, and even all across Canada, I would say. Toronto Mike is just a gem, and he's someone who I've really gotten into his podcast and followed along the little nooks and crannies, the little breadcrumbs that he leaves along the way. By the way, I wish this episode was sponsored by Palma Pasta, but I don't have the connections that he does. And yeah, I just really want you to listen and have a good time today. And Toronto Mike, welcome to Graventown.
You son of a! You are making me follow the legend that is Strombo. That's not cool, man.
No, you're getting, you know what? I think there's one episode in between. So there was one with just me, rapping. I do a lot of episodes where it's just me. I don't know. Do you do guests every time, or do
Yeah,
you sometimes do your? Oh, you do. Okay.
yeah. But did you drop, as we say in the podcasting world, did you drop that episode 101 already?
Episode 100. Yeah, I did.
No, but
A while ago.
101, like 100 is Strombo. So
Yes.
and it's funny that I'm 102. I'll explain in a minute. But 101, can I listen to that today?
101 will be out. I'm gonna put up 101 today, and then I'm gonna put this one out, I think, tomorrow. So if the listeners are out, they're gonna be mind boggled in this time capsule we've created that's
So why do
outside of
you
that timeline.
like? When did you record episode 101?
When did I record it? I think it was last week. But what happens is I record it onto. I don't want to shift the camera, but I have an older Mac that I used for my podcasting in my basement, and I have to. The internet doesn't work on it. It still records great, but you can't actually access any web browser. So I have to use a memory stick, like a USB stick, every time to transfer it to my other computer. And my new-ish Mac, this one here, has the USB-C. Doesn't have the USB slot, so I have to get the adapter. You understand? It's a whole thing.
No, that makes complete sense, because I was going to say, what are you doing? Like, record these things and then drop them like they're hot. Like, I don't understand podcasters who like, oh, I'm going to hold on to this episode and drop it next week. I'm like, no, drop it now.
I know.
Or
I need to do that
make
more.
me 101. Like, drop this today and make it 101.
Yeah. And by the way, did you hear that can crack, or was it pretty under the radar?
Well,
Did it come up?
So a little, I mean, I like learning how this cake gets baked. I was going to say sausage gets made, and somebody said that's gross or whatever. So I changed it to cake gets baked. But typically you record on your end. I heard the Strombo episode, and Strombo's like on the phone, and then you're like local. But this episode I'm recording, so I will sound better than you because I'm local and you're actually over the internet. So Zoom suppressed the sound of the crack.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you're right. Zoom does that. It's sort of a buffer. Now, what do you think about Zoom, Toronto Mike? Because I know that you're so good, and we'll just go down every rabbit hole you're interested in, every rabbit hole that a carrot is dangling in front of. But what do you think about Zoom? Like, do you like that? I remember when I was there, you said you really like the in-person interviews, but I feel like I got zoomed out over COVID because all of a sudden, that's how everyone was doing everything. Every local radio station, everything that I was involved with, any interview that I did, always Zoom. And I got sick of looking at myself while I'm talking too. It's just kind of a thing. How do you feel about Zoom? Are you okay with it? Do you hate it? Do you love it?
So shout out to Mark Maron. You mentioned he's retired. He got to I don't know, he almost got to 1,700 episodes or something. But I dropped this morning, I dropped episode 1815. And I can tell you, I try to make every guest visit me in this basement. But during COVID, when we couldn't do that, I set up a studio in my backyard, and I tried to get guests to just come in the backyard. You'll be 10 meters away outside where ventilation is 100%. And I tried to keep them in person because I don't love doing what we're doing right now. I loved the fact that you visited me in July and you sat right there, and I could just reach out and pinch your cheeks.
I know, it's true, you could. I think you did at one point. I was like, whoa.
Oh, Mike. Which cheeks are we talking about here?
I love that. You're too quick. No, it was the posterior. But no, I think that, I love that you do the in-person. I think it's so fun. Also, I don't know how you feel about this, but being a little bit of an audiophile myself, I don't love and you'll sound really good in this recording. I don't know how I'll sound, but there is just kind of like a compression that happens digitally. And it happened when a lot of people were trying to do live streams during COVID, and they were like plugging in like a full band, and they're like, I got this great setup and it's blah, 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 going through this. And it's like, you know what? Once it hits the internet, it doesn't matter. There's compression, there's stuff going on, there's digital distortion. I don't know. How do you feel about all that? Well,
Graven, so I produce podcasts for other people. Like theoretically, you could hire me to produce your podcast. And because what you're describing is absolutely true, that once your voice is going through the internet, there is compression. And then when you listen back to this episode, you'll be like, hey, Mike was recorded locally, no internet involved, but hey, I sound a bit like I'm through the internet. But there are solutions, man. I'm just telling you, I have clients where I use a service called Riverside, and it records locally, and then it uploads to the cloud, and then you grab it from the cloud. So that basically gets rid of that whole internet layer. So I personally make a choice. Like if I'm having somebody on who geographically can't visit the basement, because I don't know, I'm having Ray Dawn Chong on, right? And she's in California.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, I had her
can you ask her a question about Soul Man, that movie? Because apparently she's a huge fan of it, and it's got lots of blowback. It's the one about the guy where he takes the tanning pills that chemically turn him skins. You know that one?
Of course. I know all the problematic films, but
all right.
But Graven,
but she was in that. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's I've already done this. Like I've had a couple of episodes of Ray Dawn Chong already.
Oh, wow.
One of them, scandalous. She talks about sleeping with Mick Jagger when she was like 14 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Speaking of problematic, but all this is to say that I always decide, let's do it on Zoom. You'll sound like you're coming through the internet, but I'm fine with that. This is the fact. You're in LA and I'm in Toronto and you're not in my basement. But when I do get people on my mics, of course, it sounds amazing. I control every bit of that fidelity. So it all depends on how picky you want to be when it comes to fidelity. But there are solutions if you want to record of someone who's not in your presence and you don't want it recorded through the internet. There are solutions for you.
That's true. And if we were, these are the kind of conversations we would have if we were hanging out and we were both audio producers and we went to a local place called the Peach Pit. Now, speaking of the Peach Pit, you had a recent member of Beverly Hills 90210 on your podcast. And I can't remember her name for the
Oh,
life of me. But
Kathleen Robertson.
Kathleen Robertson. I listened to that episode, man. I loved it. How was that? Was that kind of mind blowing?
Well, it's mind blowing only because she visited the basement, right? Because I've had Jason Priestley on, and Jason Priestley, for example, he zoomed in from Nashville or something like that. But Kathleen, so it's kind of neat that you get a knock on the door, and there is a person from 90210, and that's kind of neat. And we chatted.
That's so cool.
But what I liked about Kathleen is multiple FOTMs, Friends of Toronto Mike. Graven, you're an FOTM. You know this, right?
Oh, thanks, brother. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Well, for life, you have that title.
All right.
No matter what you do. I just learned yesterday an FOTM has gone all racist.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, and I was thinking, oh, that sucks because she was a reasonable, interesting person who I knew from the radio. And she was, we had a good chat, episode 300 and something. So it's a while ago. But then yesterday, an FOTM named Lanrick sent me a screen cap of something she tweeted, and then she retweeted it like she was proud of it, and she sure didn't delete it. But it's like grossly racist. Anyway, this is all to say that she's still an FOTM because she appeared on Toronto Mike. But it's like, geez, okay. So where am I going with this? Oh yeah, multiple FOTMs told Kathleen Robertson to visit my basement. So shout out to Tom Wilson from Junk House. You know Tom.
I love Tom Wilson. He's so great, man. So talented.
He married the best friend, BFF for life for Kathleen Robertson. Tom married her and therefore knows Kathleen well and told Kathleen to come over. But also shout out to Rob Pruce, who also knew Kathleen's sister or something, or knows her. She's a Hamilton girl and he's from Burlington. And Tom, of course, is a Hamilton guy. But anyway, that is two people ordered Kathleen to the basement and she showed up. So cool.
Wow, that is cool. And I'm sorry to hear about the FOTM who kind of went racist, but Roseanne Barr's had a tough go. So you just gotta, some people.
I gotta say, I loved Roseanne. That's it. Of
course,
I liked it when they showed people. I guess we were so used to the Cosby Show or whatever, where these people live in these giant mansions, and then he's a doctor, she's a lawyer, and it was kind of neat to see oh yeah, this is a real person who's got real money problems and job problems, and I kind of dug that vibe.
Yes. No, it's true. And I mean, her show was so great for a long time, in the, what would that have been? 80s, 90s, I guess. But she was funny, obviously a young John Goodman, unbelievably talented. And then you hear stories about Norm Macdonald was a writer for that show. I mean,
I actually think
talent.
I think yes, Norm Macdonald. That I love talking about Norm, but I think Mike Bullard's brother wrote for that show. Pat Bullard. Yeah. And also John Goodman, just shout out to him in that my first exposure to John Goodman was I used to get a free week. We all got it, obviously, in Toronto or in Canada. Huh. But you get a free weekend of First Choice, you remember? Or was it First Choice Super Channel?
Yeah.
Yeah. And one free weekend, I recorded the movie Raising Arizona.
Oh, dude, same here. That's so funny.
And I had it on VHS because I recorded it from my free weekend of First Choice Super Channel. And because, as you know, well, I'm a bit older than you, but not much, okay?
Not much, yeah.
All we could watch was what we had on VHS.
That's it.
Unless it was on TV.
Nope, we didn't have the streamer. So on one of those free weekends also, I found one of my favorite movies still to this day in life called The Monster Squad. Don't know if you've ever seen that. Classic from that era.
I know of it. Out of curiosity, is Fred Savage in this?
He's not, but it's mostly unknowns a guy named Andre Gower. The guy who played Frankenstein in it is he's been in a bunch of stuff. Tom Noonan, he was in Heat. He's been in lots of movies. But it was more like a ragtag group of kids fighting against monsters, very Stranger Things sort of vibe. And
Love it, but it's just now that we're talking, so I could almost recite because I had a few cassettes that were full of stuff I got from First Choice Super Channel Free Previews. But the reason I brought up Raising Arizona before I forget, because I have this habit, like I'll do a show and then I'll go on a tangent and then I have to remember to come back. It's like, oh yeah, you were going somewhere. Okay, so where I was going, Graven, and you and I cut from the same cloth. I was listening to some of your Graven Town and I was thinking like, yeah, we're doing the same thing. I just do it more often.
No, you're way better. You do it way more often, and you're also like, I like having an outline, which I did for you, and I do, and I have some stuff written. But it's like I like going down bunny trails too, and being sort of surprised and being like, oh my god, I can't believe we talked for 10 minutes about Raising Arizona. Right?
Okay, well, if I don't get this out, I'm going to forget. But John Goodman is in Raising Arizona, and it was the first time I saw John Goodman. And then I saw when Roseanne came out, I watched it because there was a lot of buzz around it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the guy from Raising Arizona.
It's true. Yeah. And you know what's funny? An actor from Raising Arizona actually reached out. I think he found my music. I'm going to forget his name. This is horrible. He was one of the characters in that. He was also in.
Oh, brother, where art thou?
Yeah. Well, no. Okay, like Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. He was in that. He was in The Rock. Let me find his name.
Well, those are big movies, man. I thought you were going to drop some indie flicks on me.
William Forsythe.
That's a huge name.
Okay, so his wife runs his Instagram or something like that, and she reached out and just said like, something about like I think she heard a song or something, or maybe heard part of a podcast now. So I didn't say anything about him wanting to be on it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Because at first I was like, what's that name? Then I remembered his name.
Yeah, I think Coen brothers use him a lot.
They do. Yeah. So I reached out to the wife again, or that Instagram account, which is his. It's legit. And I was like, hey, I would love to have William on the podcast. But she was like, oh, he's really busy, but I have this other actor I'm working with. Maybe he could be on. And I was sort of like, oh, I didn't know who that was or anything. So one of those things. You know how that happens to you probably, right? People want to get other people in that you didn't want. And then you're like, but I wanted that person.
Well, yeah, that's called the bait and switch. And that's total bullshit, man. Like, don't you dare. It kind of just happened. Okay, I had a woman, and I don't even want to say this because it sounds like I'm not happy to have this woman on, who I am excited to have this woman on. But a woman reached out and said, can Rain Maida visit? And I'm like, I just had Chantal Kreviazek over, and she said she was going to bring her husband, Rain, over. Of course I would have Rain Maida over because I love Our Lady Peace. Of course I would do that. And then she did this bait and switch thing. We had it all set. And then she's like, oh, he's flying in from LA for this War Child Canada recognition thing, but he's not recording anything on this day, but he's happy to Zoom with you on this day. And then she said, but I can send over Melanie Doan. Okay, so this was the whole thing. This just happened like last week. And then I'm like, okay, no to the Zoom with Rain because I'll wait. I'll play the long game. I'll wait as long as it takes to get Rain in the basement because I know that'll eventually happen. And yes to Melanie Doan because I would like to talk to Melanie Doan. So she's over tomorrow.
Oh, that's cool. So that is kind of a bait and switch. And then you're forced, but then it's like, the intention you set out with, or you're like, I could talk to this person and I have ideas and things we could maybe riff on, that completely switches, right? So now it's like there's all this other research. Now, Melanie Doan's a name that we all know from Canadian music. So for you, maybe it's not a huge stretch, but I don't know.
Yeah, like at least I know who she is. Right.
Yeah, but do you find that kind of stressful when that happens?
Like it's not my comfort zone because off the top of my head, I can't really remember any Melanie Doan songs. Like it wasn't my... Like at that time, I would have been listening to 102.1, and they were not playing any Melanie Doan. But I also watched a lot of Much Music, as I'm sure you did, and I do remember there would be some Melanie Doan on Much, so I have to do a bit of homework on that one. But, I'm happy to chat with her because it's in person, and Rain can go screw himself.
Yeah, he can. I gotta say, big fan. I was a big fan of Our Lady Peace for a while, but but I really liked their first record.
Navid.
And Navid, yes. And then when they came out with Clumsy, and I know I'm probably I'm in the minority, but I just found like it just wasn't my thing. And but yet that album rocketed them to success. It had so many hits like 4 a.m., Superman's Dead, all these huge hits that came out off of that record. But I was sort of like, doesn't feel like, I felt like with Navid, they were doing more interesting things. Again, this is all my own opinion. But I was a big Pumpkins fan. Okay. So I saw this interview on Much Music. I don't know if you remember this with, who was the this is going to sound bad. I'm not sure. Like, who was the interviewer on Much Music, the VJ, who was and this is not meaning to be, because I'm not sure whether she's, I think she might be Korean.
Oh, Sukyin Lee.
Sukyin Lee. Okay.
Who I just watched on the weekend. I just watched her latest movie that she directed. It's called Paying for It, and I fucking loved it. It's great.
She's so fucking talented. So, anyways, she was interviewing Billy Corgan and the Pumpkins, and in all those interviews, the rest of the band never said anything. And she goes, "Do you feel like people are doing kind of what you're doing?" This is right around the era of Clumsy and all that. Or she said, "Do you feel like you have a unique style, or sometimes you sort of get ripped off?" There's a kind of a question like that. And Billy Corgan goes, "I don't know. You should ask Our Lady Peace." And I was like, "Oh yeah." I was a huge Pumpkins fan, and I knew there was something that irked me about it. And I was like, "Oh yeah," but I don't think it was the same. They were doing very different things. But Billy's one of those people who thought like everyone was, stealing from him.
Oh yeah. But both great bands as far as I'm concerned. And Our Lady Peace were a Toronto band, and Rain is really a Mike, so he's really a Toronto Mike if you want to get technical about it. And I will say, because I've had Jeremy Taggart over, and we talked a lot about that first album. The song, and I like the whole first album, but I love the song Navid. Like,
it's a great song.
Navid. Yeah. So anyway, shout out to Our Lady Peace. But I realize this is not Toronto Mike. This is Graven Town. So here's what we're gonna do. Because you mentioned you actually have like a structure. So I'll try to follow your lead, because I could take over this damn thing and talk to you about watching The Natural 130 times, because I recorded it from a free preview of First Choice Super Channel, and how much I love The Natural. But please, lead me, brother.
Oh man, now that's like awakening so many things in my brain wheel. But I will lead you. I'll do my best. But recently, not too long ago, you had someone on your podcast who I met briefly in Hamilton backstage at a Joel Plaskett concert. Actually, there was a group of us kind of going out for dinner. I think we were sitting at a hotel bar, and I sort of knew this. I couldn't really place him. This is circa probably 2011 or something like that. And I was shooting some video for Joel Plaskett on this tour. And this guy, I was like, I recognize him, and he introduced himself. But then I was like, oh, that's Dave Hodge. And because I found out from that and that experience that he's such a huge fan of multiple Canadian musicians. Like, he's a huge fan of Kathleen Edwards. He's a huge fan of Joel Plaskett. I think he's a fan of many others. But it was just so cool and sort of interesting that a sports broadcaster was so dialed in to the Canadian music world. Did you get to talk with Dave Hodge about any of that, about his love for music?
So, my friend, I'm almost disappointed at how out of the loop you are, because for the past 8 years, usually it's in November, but sometimes December, at the end of every calendar year for the past 8 years, Dave Hodge has come on my show.
Okay.
Always in person, unless the COVID hit, and then we did a couple of Zooms. But So he was in my basement a couple of weeks ago. But he comes over and he unveils to me his 100 favorite new songs of the year.
No way.
We've done this 8 years in a row. There's a website we maintain. Shout out to the VP of Sales. It's called hodge100.com, and you can find previous lists and previous episodes. And we have like an Apple and a Spotify playlist of his 100 favorite songs. So yeah, it's like one of my favorite annual traditions is Dave Hodge will visit and tell me his 100 songs of the year.
That is so cool. So, do you think that is it just music is something that was in his blood that he grew up with, or he's just kind of a curious guy and likes to find out about new things?
So what I've learned about him is, yes, he loves sports and he loves talking sports. And most of us know Dave Hodge as a sports guy. And we've had
Yeah.
many conversations about the pen flip and the reporters and all that. But his love is music ever since he was listening to 1050 Chum back in the day. And he doesn't just love music, he loves new music. So where a lot of guys his age, because he's going to be 80 years old soon, a lot of guys his age, they just want to hear, I don't know, Led Zeppelin or
Yeah, it's true.
the Beatles or whatever, the Rolling Stones or whatever they listened to as a teenager or whatever. But
Yeah.
he likes new stuff. So the fact that he hears 100 new songs, because it's all different artists, right? He doesn't bang off 10 songs from Kathleen Edwards or whatever. So
No.
he's got his ear to the ground. He goes to a lot of live shows. I love my chats with him every year about what he's been up to, what he's listening to, and then hearing the 100 songs. So yeah, I've talked a lot of music with Dave Hodge.
That's so fun. And I remember talking with Dave Hodge when we were in Hamilton because Joel was playing, I think I don't know if it was at Cops or it was like a theater inside of Cops Coliseum or anyways, really, really cool. And I remember that. And Dave was like, "Oh, where are you from?" "Ottawa." And then he was telling a slight story about the NAC. And at the NAC, the National Arts Center, back when things first started opening from COVID, I had a chance with a friend to go see, who has now passed away, sadly. Her name was Wendy. And she said, "I got tickets to this show and no one can go with me. Do you want to go?" And I remember thinking, oh, I'm not totally a fan of that person, but you know what? It's been a while since I've seen live music. I'm just going to go and immerse myself in the experience. And that person performing was Alan Doyle.
Wow.
And dude, I'm telling you, it was one of the most unreal shows that I've ever seen. And that guy just bounces around on stage like boundless energy. And they were doing live, huge sets with the full band. And then the three of them, him and his violin player, another guitarist, would sit on this wooden box and do like a stripped down couple of songs.
Oh, is that Kendall Carson? Kendall Carson?
Yeah.
She's
So,
amazing.
tell me about interviewing Alan Doyle. And have you done it before? Have you talked to him before? Was that your first time?
That was my first time. I had Sean McCann on the show, who's another founding member of Great Big Sea. And then what happened was, and this is what I've learned having done this since 2012, some people you want are pretty unavailable, especially when this guy lives in Newfoundland and you want him in your basement in South Etobicoke. But magically, when they put out a book, they're suddenly available to visit. And what happened with Alan is he released a book about Newfoundland, about his love for Newfoundland.
Oh, cool.
The Smiling Land, it's called. And then suddenly his book publisher was driving him over so he could chat with me for an hour or so. And I loved it because he's like a down-to-earth, easy-to-talk-to guy. We hit it off. And it was a great time a couple of weeks ago with Alan Doyle.
Was he in town in Toronto performing, or you said he was there for a book?
Okay, so a couple of things. One is he spent a lot of time here recently, actually, because there's a play. He had a play that was he was starring in a musical play thing that was, and I don't know why I didn't see it, but it was here. It had a run here, so he was here for that a lot. But then he lives in Newfoundland. He's only ever lived in Newfoundland, but he was in town to promote the book. So I got on. So what's happened now is Toronto Mike has got on the circuit. So I have a lot of people who come over. I don't know, like Finger 11 or the Trues or Alan Doyle, and these guys are coming to promote something like a new album or a book, and they basically they have like somebody, a PR person, who's like, okay, you're going to do breakfast television, and then you're going to
Mike.
Yeah, well, sometimes I noticed I get paired up with Zoomer. Like it's like, okay, you're going to drop by the Zoomerplex and you're going to do AM 740 or something. And then you're going to go to South Etobicoke and do Toronto Mike. Like I'm on the circuit and that's pretty rad, man. Cause I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm there
cool.
like with Moses and Rogers and Bell and CBC and Toronto Mike. Like think about that. One of these things does not belong.
Yeah, you do. When I do think of you, I think Moses-esque. I can see you standing with stone tablets on the top of, a hill.
Oh, by the way, Moses Znaimer the man behind Zoomer, who of course was a founder of what we called.
Much.
Well, yeah,
Didn't you know City TV, right? City TV.
it was City TV, and then
Yeah.
Chum partnered, so it became Chum City, and of course that included Much. But
Right.
I've been trying to get him on Toronto Mike for years, and he won't do it. Like, so Moses, I noticed he doesn't like to do any press that he can't
Yeah.
control unless it's a very specific topic. Like, I don't know, he'll talk about the passing of Frank Gehry. I'm making that up, but you know what I mean. Like, so
Yeah.
Moses, not an FOTM, but man, everyone who worked with him is.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, just the fact that you're that connected in the T dot. By the way, did people in Toronto say T dot, or is that more of like a out of town thing to say? Like, what's the proper Toronto slang for people? I know the hard T, like hard T Toronto. That's very American. It's
No,
like saying Montreal. So that's very American too. So everyone that I know said we say Toronto, but what are the appropriate the slang terms for?
okay, slang. Well, okay, it definitely was the T dot. This was big with Cardinal Official. Like, he was dropping
Yeah,
T
that's
dot
right.
stuff, and that's a bit ago. And then of course Drake decided to call it the Six, and the Six became a big thing for a while.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't think I call it anything. I just kind of like, I live here, and I've only ever lived here. I am to Toronto as Alan Doyle is to Newfoundland. I've only ever lived here. So
That's true.
I was born at St. Joe's in Parkdale, and this is so I don't know, but I do hate it when people like put their noses up on somebody because they pronounce that second T in Toronto. Like, I can tell you, a lot of proud Torontonians nail that second T. I've
Yeah.
noticed, particularly if you're from a Caribbean nation, you hit that second T.
That's true. Yeah,
I
you're
kind of
right.
like it. Like, I kind of like it. Toronto.
Yeah. It does kind of put the button on it. But what I was going to say was, so getting to you, we've talked about some of your guests, we've talked about some of your things. By the way, side note, I recorded with Joel Plaskett a couple of years ago in his beautiful studio out in Dartmouth. And Alan Doyle, at that point, actually, it was just before I think I got there, and everything was closed down to COVID. I was there in 2021, so things had just started to open. And Joel told me a story that, like, when things were shut down, everything was locked down, Alan Doyle reached out to him and said, "Hey, I've got some songs. I think he had Kendall and one other musician with him. He just wanted to come and do, a few tunes." And he was like, "Well, Isolate, what would you think about us coming to Fang, Joel's studio, and recording it?" So they did, just before, like, a couple months before I went out there when everything was shut down. It's kind of cool, right?
No, that's
Alan
super
Doyle.
cool. I would love to have Joel Plaskett over at some point. I mentioned this movie I watched called Paying for It, which is directed by Suk Yin Lee.
Yeah.
And she's like, there's a character in there that is basically based on her, but they changed the name, I guess, just to put a little distance there. And this person is a VJ on an all music station in Canada called Max Music. And at some point, absolutely, there's a Thrush Hermit song being played on Max Music in this movie.
That is so cool. Oh my God. You know what? I'm going to help you make it happen. All right. Joel is a friend, so we got to get him on.
I'd love it. I'd love it because just shout out to, I produce a podcast for a film producer. I think he's the most prolific film producer in the country, actually. His name is Avi Fettergreen, and the podcast is called Unleashed. And Avi Fettergreen produced a movie by Michael McGowan. It was a movie called 1 Week. And it starred
Joel was
Joshua
in it.
Jackson and Joel. Yeah. So the following musicians have cameos in this, and I think it's wild. Like, so Gore Downey has a role in this.
Yeah.
The late great. FOTM M Griner has her acting debut in this thing. God, she was gorgeous.
So cool. Yeah.
And Joel Plaskett's a busker in this thing.
So cool. Yeah, with Joshua Jackson. I remember that. That was a big deal when that came out. That was right around the time of Let's Go Out, We'll Take No Prisoners, that $1 Million song.
Well, not that song, which was great. That was the theme song for a long time. That was the theme song to Avi Fettergreen's podcast.
No way. Well, speaking of podcasting, Toronto Mike, I want to ask you, so what was it in you that made you decide 1,815 episodes ago that you wanted to go down this road? Like, what did you have beginnings in journalism? Did you have like aspirations to be on camera, like on a news station, or is it just like more that you wanted to have the more up close personal conversations with people? Were you always that way as a kid? Like, what was the driving force behind Toronto Mike?
Okay, so in a nutshell, because I could probably do 90 minutes on this. In fact,
Yeah.
I recorded an episode 1000, which was just like where I tell the story of Toronto Mike. That episode was almost 5 hours long.
Oh my God.
and,
Wow.
and I did this sort of like as a social experiment. Like, who's going to listen to a 5 hour episode? And then when people did listen, I would send them a sticker that say I listened to 1000 or something like that.
I love
And
it.
that it's funny because this whole idea of this big episode 1000, which is going back a few years now, because I'm at over 1800 now. It got me a 2-page spread in the Toronto Star with 4 color photos, my 1000, and then it got me on CBC Radio 1. So it's like I was sort of thinking like these stunts, these bullshit stunts, these marketing things you do, like they work.
Yeah, it's true.
Like
It's true.
that's why I'm telling you, Strombo for episode 100 was genius.
Wow. I mean, thanks. He's someone that I talked to for a while. So he wasn't like a rando pull out of nowhere. He was someone that I thought would be great. And then eventually I just asked him, because I'm sure he gets asked shit all the time. And he also just launched this new series that he's starting about traveling across Canada. He's like hosting this series. It's on something called Made New, NOUS, like new en français. So it's this new network. It's a new thing. So he's really like rebooting. So
Wait, do you want a
thank
mind
you
blow
for-
before I get back to my origin story? You
Yeah.
want a mind blow?
yes.
Strombo
Always.
was almost episode 100 of Toronto Mic'd.
Whoa.
And what we
No
ended
way.
up, then he told me, so I'm corresponding with him way back when, because episode 100 is a while ago. And then he said he wanted to be episode 102 because he had a good time working at CFNY.
Whoa.
So he said, can I be 102? And I said, yes, Mr. Strombolopoulos, you can be 102. But then I realized I had already promised episode 102 to Scott Turner, who was a jock on CFNY. And
Okay.
so Scott Turner was going to visit to make his Toronto Mike debut for 102. So the compromise I made with Strombo was he could be episode 102.1, which is also known in the Toronto Mike feed as episode 103.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he had to
So-
visit. He had to visit, but
Well,
he-
how much of a mind blow is it that he did episode 100 for me, and now you're going to be 102 for me?
oh yeah,
What?
that's why I said I teased it earlier. I said I got a fun story about that. But so yeah, so Strombo was. He thinks he was episode 102.1, but there is no, I can't work like that.
Right.
So he was episode 103. And it was wild because it was kind of early days of this. And it was near Christmas. It was like, I don't know, like December 22nd. I could hear this loud music outside, and there was like a truck outside blaring music. I can't remember what it was blaring. And Strombo waltzes in. We went really long. In that episode, we shared some tears because we talked about his friend Martin Streak, who had taken his life.
Oh man.
And then he said, and then he said, this is real talk. And then I started using real talk to describe Toronto Mic'd. And then I learned of a podcast out west, I think from Edmonton, that was starting to call itself Real Talk. And then I stopped using Real Talk because I figured, okay, he's using it like as a name. I'm not going to it'll look like I'm
No.
bugging it. But anyway, all this, let me just tell you in a nutshell here, because it all comes back to CFNY. So
Okay.
no, I never had any media experience. I'd never been on the radio at all. I never studied anything to do with journalism or media or broadcasting.
Mhm.
I never had aspirations to ever speak into a microphone. I thought I had a bad voice, and I never even considered it because the jocks I listened to growing up had these big, ballsy voices. And I
Oh
felt-
yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't sound like that. I can't do this. I never considered it, but I was a natural-born archivist and a very curious cat who would blog. So TorontoMike.com was a blog for a long time. But then, because I used to write about radio, I became friends with Humble and Fred, who were on 102.1 The Edge /
Right.
CFNY for a long time.
Yeah.
And in 2006, they were fired. Well, Fred was actually fired in 2005, and then Howard was fired in '06, but they were fired by Mix 99.9, which is now known as Virgin Radio. But they couldn't get a job in radio, and I had lunch with them one day, and I said, gentlemen, there's a burgeoning new format. You do not need a terrestrial radio signal to broadcast in 2006. And they're like, what are you saying? And I said, if you can record an episode, like bake a nice MP3 file, I can disseminate that to your fans via the internet by making it a podcast. And that's what we did in 2006.
So you did a podcast for Humble and Fred?
Yep. I still do it.
Right.
Like I did it this morning. So we're still going. So
that's amazing.
I know. But what happened was we would do periodically, we'd record, like nothing regular. And then in 2011, they decided that they wanted to do it daily, like make a good, honest adult living out of this. And then we started doing it daily. And for the first 2 weeks of that podcast, I would basically be in the studio with them. And I would see people like Graven would come by. And I would say, hey, like, I have questions for Graven they're not asking. Like, I have curiosities regarding Graven that they're not interested in. Mm-hmm. I could, like, leave my comfort zone and start a show, which is like an extension of my blog. It would be like a podcast where I have Graven over and I ask all the Graven questions that the Graven heads want me to ask.
Yeah.
Anyways, the rest is history. So they started going daily in, like, October 2011. By like January 2012, I had started inquiring about what gear I need to buy. Like, how do you record a podcast? How do you make it sound good? Like, I started teaching myself how to do the engineering part, and then I launched my show in August 2012.
Wow. Well, dude, that is amazing, and it's incredible. It's incredible that you've stuck with it for so long, but you've also developed this like conversational skill, which is something that I recognize from listening to a lot of podcasts and also doing them myself and being in journalism before, and learning how to talk to people. But it's like, it's a real art form. And I think the magic of you, if I can toot your horn, if I can put some gas in your tank for a second, if I can give you some flowers, as they say,
I'm ready.
I think that the great thing about you is that you can hang back, or you can have an outline kind of like I do, but then you're also willing to go down bunny trails with people, because that's the thing I think when a lot of interviewers get thrown is when they can't adjust and they can't sort of move on the fly. They're sort of like, I have 10 questions and I'm going to get through all of these like direct answers. And okay, maybe we'll chat a bit more about that question. But I think you have an incredible skill to just flow. I was talking to Strombo a bit about that, because he's a huge interviewer and I respect what he's done a lot. And it's like the ability to be in a flow state is a unique thing. And you have that ability. So kudos to you, Toronto Mike.
Well, blessings to you, Graven. You made my day, and I really appreciate that, because I think I've tried to get better at getting out of the way, and I also realize I'm a fan of the tangents. Not everybody is. You listen to a CBC show, and they're like, what are you doing over there? We're going here. And I'm like, I got to go over there, because I'm going to see if there's any nuggets of gold over there, but I'm coming back to this. Don't worry. And then I got better at coming back, because sometimes I'd forget to come back in the beginning. And give some space to the guest, because it's not about Toronto Mike, it's about the guest. And here's a secret. Strombo would echo this sentiment. You have it too, but the secret is you got to give a shit.
Yeah, that's exactly. He said that on the podcast. It's like the basic requirement is like just giving a shit. 100%.
Like, I actually, whoever's coming over, or if I'm zooming with somebody or whatever, whoever my guest is, like, I want to explore and create compelling content, and I give a shit. This isn't like, I can't imagine, like, I never did work for a media company, but like, if you worked for, let's say 102.1 The Edge, and you have Rain Maida on the show, like, you're sort of like a hired gun. Rain's there to be on your frequency. He's not there to talk to you. He's there to promote something. Like, you wouldn't have that sense of ownership. Like, it's like, I got to do my job here and create content for my employer, so they cut me a check every 2 weeks or whatever. But like, if you're having Rain Maida on Toronto Mike, like your baby that you birthed, and I'm the only one who works on this. Every little part of this enterprise is yours truly. Like, that's called pride of ownership. Like, I give a shit.
Yeah. Yes, you do, man. And it's so great. And I wanted to throw it back to earlier, you had mentioned something called Virgin Radio, and I grew up very Christian, so I listened to a different type of Virgin Radio. But I'm just kidding.
Are you a virgin, Graven?
I had that seed planted, and then it just came back now, and I was like, oh, I got to throw that back to Mike because he'll appreciate that. Ping pong.
Shout out to Christian rockers Creed.
Oh yeah, Creed, and Petra. My good friend Brian was a big fan of the Christian rock band Petra for a long time.
I see. I don't know Petra, but I did see Creed headline in Edgefest at Molson Park in Barrie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, Creed and Nickelback were sort of on the same level for a little while, and then Nickelback just sort of ascended to another place.
Oh, it's funny you mention that because the year before, Nickelback headlined. I used to go to all the Edgefests, but you know what happens. I liked Edgefest anyway, but once I became friends with Fred Patterson from Humble and Fred, he was good friends with Jason Barr, who was on the Dean Blundell show on 102.1 for a long time until they let him go. So for many, many years, how did this work? For many, many years, Jason Barr would get like free tickets to Casby Awards or Edgefest or whatever and drop them off at Fred's house so I could go to Fred's house and pick them up. Like that was like a thing we did for years. So I went to all the Casby Awards and all the Edgefests, and it was because Barr got the tickets to Patterson, who got them to me.
Man, bar none. That's great. But sorry, I can. But yeah, you recently also had. I'd like to talk about one more guest, and then we can wrap it up. But I think he's sort of an interesting character, musical guy, and you had Hawksley Workman on the show, who you were very like giving him lots of flowers too, saying like, I think you could be called Toxley Workman because he's a great talker and can kind of flow and riff as well. Well, he has his own podcast now too. See, Mike, you and I started doing, well, I didn't, you started way before me, but now it's like Dan Mangan has a podcast, Hawksley Workman has a podcast. Like all these people are seeing what we're doing, Mike, and they're just trying to ride our coattails, man, you know?
Hawk's become a good friend because when he first came over, he was in the basement, and
he's great. I love Hawksley. He's so cool.
But like we started having like phone chats, like personal unrecorded phone chats where I would be telling him what I believe to be true, which is he's got a good rap on him and he would be great at hosting something, like start a podcast or whatever. And then he eventually did, of course, but he has this great fear of being canceled. Like he has an absolute fear that if he's just unfiltered Hawksley Workman, he'll say something that'll get him canceled. And that sort of holds him back, I think, is that he's very careful when he's talking on the record. But I want to shout out Hawksley because I just made the trek to Guelph, Ontario to see Hawksley Workman. This is only a few weeks ago, and he's always great. I went backstage.
You made it to the Royal City.
You know what? My first visit to Guelph.
Oh, wow.
Can you believe that?
Amazing. That's where I went to school, Mike.
Well, I saw the statue for Graven. I saw it.
There's nothing there. So how was the show? He put on a great show.
It was great. This venue, Sonic Hall, so it's the second floor, and it's it's intimate. I liked it. What I didn't like is that, and I've never been to Sonic Hall before, so I don't know what it would be like if Sloan came there or Lowest of the Low or whatever. Other bands I love that might be playing at Sonic Hall. But they had rows of chairs, okay? You're like pushing 50, right?
Yeah, 49.
Okay. So I'm 51. I was just at the Trews at the Danforth Music Hall on Saturday night. Great fucking show, actually. But I don't know how to sit for a concert. Like I have no desire to sit for a concert, and I hated the fact that all the prime real estate was taken up by chairs. Like put them at the back or something. I don't know what the solution is, but are we at a point now where if you go to see Hawksley Workman at Sonic Hall, if you want to stand, you got to go like behind the bar or something?
Yeah, that is strange. Yeah, I know what you mean. There's something about chairs. It's like it needs to be a certain type of vibe. But yeah, I do like, honestly, I'm getting older and I do play acoustic a lot more, and sometimes I'm solo. There's something about a seated energy that is nice because usually it means they're going to dial in a bit more, listen a bit more.
Well, I find this all interesting. Like I don't go to a lot of shows, but I go to shows. I don't know if I go to like 10, 12 concerts a year or something like that. And I mean, even if I'm at a venue and it's not too, I go to venues that don't have chairs. Like I'm at Danforth Music Hall, you got to be in the balcony. And I notice they're sitting. I'm like, what's wrong with those people? But okay. But if I'm at a show, I saw Bruce Springsteen last November. So like a year ago, I saw Bruce Springsteen at Scotiabank Arena. So of course you buy a seat. I mean, there's a chair. Everybody around me was sitting and I stood for the whole 3-hour show. I just need to move. I need to stand. I'm sure at some point I'll hit an age where it's like my body wants a rest or something, but I'm not there yet.
Right.
I don't know.
Wow.
No judgments, some people are differently abled and not everybody can stand for a concert, but I just found that layout interesting, that all the prime location at Sonic Hall was for these chairs that were put up for Hawksley workmen.
That is interesting. I have seen the Sonic Hall. I haven't been in it, but I know from having opened and played a bunch of shows with both Stephen Stanley and Ron Hawkins, who I love. And yeah, Lowest of the Low has played there. I don't know if Stephen has, but Ron has also played there solo. People seem to like it. And Guelph is a good spot. But
I almost saw Lowest of the Low that was the plan. I was going to go to see Lowest of the Low at Sonic Hall. But I think it collided with a Blue Jays playoff game. And I had to make a call, and my call was to watch the game with my kids. Like I didn't want to miss this moment, Blue Jay action, playoff action. So I missed that show.
Well, Mike, listen, as we get ready to wrap this up, I appreciate your time, and I know that you had a short window. And for the listener, I was like, forget it, let's not do it. I can't find my other microphone. And then you
canceled it. So no, we gotta tell the people how the sausage is made. I don't care how gross that sounds, but like we booked this a while ago, and I blocked my valuable calendar, which includes everything from bike rides to recordings to COVID shots. Wow. Everything's in there. Picking up kids, dropping off kids at school, whatever. I blocked for you 90 minutes, so like 11:30 to 1. And then
thank you, man.
Yeah, but then at like 11:45, you're like, we got to postpone this. I can't find my other mic. What did you need 2 mics for? I don't even understand. So
the way that I do it for because I just do audio only, is like I would have had you over phone call speaker, and I put an SM58 with a pop filter up to the phone, and that's the way I did it with Strombo and everyone else. And then I talk through this guy, and so it's cool. It gives it this kind of phony effect, but it still records it really well. So I get it now. For the phone, there's no decompression either. Like it's just kind of like a flat level, but you still get it's. I don't know. I just have always done it that way, and I also like the fact that it's a phone call because everything is Zoom. You're always looking at the other person.
Well, you could turn off the camera.
Phone, yeah, that's true. I know.
So you said you got to postpone. And then I basically said, well, I have until 1 p.m. I said, we can do an hour. Because I did hear you tell Strombo that he was like the longest episode.
He was.
And you don't typically go over an hour.
I really don't. I try to be like 30 to 40 minutes because I feel like podcasts who do, no offense, I know you did a 5-hour one, but like, Joe Rogan and his constant like Alex Jones interviews that are 4 hours long. I mean, no one wants to listen to that. Who's got that much fucking time? Come on.
Well, we'll disagree on that one because you sound like the aforementioned Fred Patterson who told me I think I had somebody over, maybe Ron Hawkins or somebody, and I went like 90 minutes and he says, nobody's going to listen to a 90-minute podcast. Well, that's
90 minutes is fine.
Well, if I have somebody, go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I want you to have your druthers, Mike. But what I was going to say was, you have now 1,815. That was your latest, 1,815?
Yep.
Okay. 1,815 episodes. And I was just curiously looking up podcasts with the most episodes to date. Apparently, the Adam Carolla Show has over 3,000 episodes. That's a long-running podcast. Wow. Yeah. The Mike O'Meara Show, I don't even know what that is. 3,200. Something called Dark History has over 2,400. So,
well, let's do this. Canadian.
You're getting up. My point is, Mike, you're getting up into that lexicon, brother. Where like I'm Adam Carolla. Who knows how many podcasts that guy's got left in him? He's just going to talk about construction stories from 2004. Like no one cares. But I think you're in the pantheon. You're moving up to this new era. There's going to be history books. There's going to be things written about you. It's like, this forum, this medium happened, and then this guy in Canada called himself Toronto Mike. I mean, he was right at the precipice, at the forefront, and then continued on right into his prime years, and is still going. At episode like 5,000, they'll be like, Toronto Mike just hit 5,000. Well, so do you have any type of numeric goal for any episode you want to hit?
No. Nothing like that either. And I used to care about milestone episodes. Like you took great effort to get a big name for episode 100, and Strombo was wonderful. But I used to do that. Like I had special 100, 200. I did a special 1,000, but I think that broke me. Like episode 1,000 broke me. Just how it wasn't like this where we just did live to tape for an hour. Like episode 1,000 almost killed me, but it all worked out. It got me in the Star. It got me on CBC, whatever. But I basically decided after that, like, let the chips fall where they may. Like, whoever naturally is episode 2,000 is going to be the big winner. I don't have any plans to do anything special for 2,000, but I reserve the right to change my mind, Graven.
Yeah, you do. And you know what? I would love to be you know what you could do? Some people do whatever, different things. You'll do your own thing. You could have like a phone line for episode 2000 where just someone can call in for 5 minutes. I'd love to be one of those people who calls in. So keep me on your back burner anytime. You keep me on your speed dial, Mike, and I'll do the same for you.
Well, thanks for making me episode 102.1 of Graven Town.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mike. That was awesome, man.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,825th show. Go to torontomike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. Much love to those who made this possible. That's Retro Festive, Great Lakes Brewery, Palma Pasta, Nick Iones, RecycleMyElectronics.ca, and Ridley Funeral Home. See you all Monday when I catch up with FOTM Ben Rayner.